Long ago, in the heart of the flourishing kingdom of Ozayama, lived a generous and strikingly handsome prince named Ikemba. He was the only child of King Udochukwu and Queen Adama, rulers admired for their wisdom and grace. Though Ikemba possessed all a young man could dream of treasures, status, and adoration, his spirit quietly longed for something deeper. Admired across the land for his noble nature and radiant smile, he was the crown jewel of Ozayama. Yet a growing storm brewed within the palace. His parents were anxious about his future. "Ikemba, you have reached 28 harvests, Queen," Adama said one sunny morning as she handed him a bowl of spicy yam porridge. "You must choose a bride. The people await their queen." King Udochukwu, a man of firm resolve, nodded with authority. "It is time, my son. The throne must not stand without an heir." Every moon cycle, wealthy families paraded their daughters before the palace, each adorned in shimmering wrappers and coral beads, eager to become the prince's bride. Though beautiful and polished, their laughter felt hollow to Ikemba. His heart saw through the charms. They sought the crown, not the soul beneath it. "Father, mother," Ikemba said one evening as fireflies danced in the courtyard, "I cannot marry a woman who desires my title but knows not my heart." His parents exchanged troubled glances. "What are you saying, son?" The king asked. "There are maidens aplenty, each suited for royalty." Ikemba shook his head, voice steady. "That is the very problem. If they know I am prince, they will hide their true selves. How will I know if the love is real?" Queen Adama frowned with worry. "What will you do then?" "I have a plan," he said. "I will leave Ozayama, shed my robes, and walk the earth as a common man. Only then will I find someone who sees." "Ikemba, not just the crown." The room fell silent. "You? Live among farmers and traders?" King Udoshukwu's voice boomed. "You are heir to this land. Please," Ikemba whispered, "let me search for love that sees me." After many nights of debating, the king gave a reluctant nod. "1 year," he declared. "If you return without a wife, the elders will choose one for you." Grateful, Ikemba bowed. For weeks he prepared. He cut his fine locks, folded away his royal garments, and practiced the speech of the villages. One misty morning, while the cock still dozed, he slipped from the palace with only a cloth bag on his back. "I will find her," he murmured to the dawn sky, "the one who will love my spirit." He walked for days under sun and stars until he reached Umudike, a small village nestled beside thick groves of kola trees. It was quiet, rich with earthy smells and laughter from the open market. Here, Ikemba believed, he could vanish into simplicity. As he entered the village square, he noticed men climbing trees with ropes tied around their waists, slicing palm stems and catching the sweet white sap in clay bowls. The scent of fresh palm wine drifted through the air. Ikemba watched in awe their movements were smooth, their skill rooted in rhythm. For the first time, he felt a strange peace settle in his chest. "Yes," he thought, "this will be my trade." Approaching one of the men, a silver-haired elder with skin like polished mahogany, he bowed respectfully. "Good day, sir," he said. The elder turned, wiping sweat from his brow. "Afternoon, son. What brings you to my grove?" "I am a Kenna," Ikemba replied, using the name he had chosen for his journey. "I wish to learn the art of palm wine tapping. I seek honest work." The man chuckled, his laugh deep and warm. "You? Tapping is no soft task. It takes grit and balance." "I'm ready to learn," Ikena said. "Please teach me." The man paused, then nodded. "My name is Baba Okafor. Meet me here at cockcrow tomorrow. We'll see if your spirit can match your words." That evening, Ikena slept in a thatch hut he rented beside the cassava fields. There was no silk, no marble floors, only the song of crickets and the cool whisper of night wind. But his heart beat with purpose. At dawn, he met Baba Okafor, who handed him a sharp tapping knife and tied ropes around his waist. "Climb like your life depends on it," the old man said. "Because one slip, and it just might." The tree swayed under him, and sweat soaked his borrowed shirt, but Ikena climbed. By midday, he had tapped his first stem. "Well done, my boy," Baba Okafor said, clapping his back. "You're not just another soft-handed dreamer." Weeks passed. Ikena rose with the sun, tapped trees, filled gourds, and sold the sweet wine at the roadside. Though each day tested his strength, he found joy in the work. The smell of crushed palm leaves, the scrape of the blade, the hush before sap flowed. The villagers began to notice him. "That's Ikena the tapper," they'd say, half in admiration, half in curiosity. Though his clothes were simple, his heart was golden. He helped old Mazi Chuka carry yams, played ball with little boys in the dust, and listened to stories at the evening wine huts. Yet not all welcomed him kindly. "Humph," one woman muttered. "Handsome like a prince, but climbing trees like a bushrat. What a waste." Ikena only smiled, keeping his truth folded deep within like a sacred cloth dot in the heart of the vibrant kingdom of Neavila. A young man named Okoi, known to the people of the village of Eziyama as a humble palm wine tapper, sat beneath a towering iroko tree, sipping from a gourd of fresh brew alongside Baba Kamalu, his mentor. The soft hum of crickets echoed across the evening sky, while the aroma of roasting plantains floated in the air. "Baba," Okoi asked curiously, "what are the women like in Eziyama?" The elder chuckled, his gray beard twitching with amusement. "Ah, my son," he began, "we have all kinds, some whose hearts are soft like warm fufu, others as bitter as unripe kola nut. The only way to know who's real? Watch how they treat those who have nothing to give them." Okoi nodded, his mind stirred by the wisdom. He believed the woman he sought one who'd love him for his soul. Not his status was somewhere here, hidden beneath everyday cloth and calloused palms. As days turned into weeks, Okoi settled into village life, waking at dawn to climb slippery palm trees, tie his waist with rough rope, and draw sweet sap into hollow calabashes. In the evenings he would linger in the village square, laughing with fishermen, listening to folk tales told by wrinkled elders, and watching children dance to the beat of talking drums. His heart remained steady in its mission, find love, real and untouched by gold. But it wasn't easy. One hot afternoon at the open-air market, Okoi approached a young woman selling cassava stacked in woven baskets. Her name was Kiyoma, and she greeted him with a teasing smile. "You're not from around here," she said, sizing him up. "I'm Okoi," he replied warmly. "I tap palm wine. It's honest work." The sparkle in Kiyoma's eyes faded. "Palm wine tapper?" she scoffed. "You climb trees like a monkey, and you want me to smile at that? If you have no land or coin, you should save your charm for someone who enjoys suffering." Her words stung, but Okoi bowed politely and walked away, his pride untouched. Another day, by the river's edge, he noticed a woman named Ifananya drawing water. The sun danced on the waves, and she moved with the rhythm of someone used to carrying burdens. Okoi offered to help lift her heavy pot. "You're strong," she noted. "That's the palm trees," he said, smiling. "I climb daily. It's good work." She raised a brow, tilting her head. "Good for your muscles, maybe not for a family." And just like that, her warmth turned to ice. "Nice words won't feed a household," she added, and walked off with her pot balanced high on her head. Despite the cold shoulders, Okoi did not falter. He believed the right heart would see his. Then one late morning, as he carried a full gourd of wine along the stream path, he saw her, a young woman, washing clothes beside the river. She hummed gently, the melody low like morning wind in dry season. Her wrapper was plain, hair tied neatly with a faded scarf, but something about her posture calm, graceful pulled him in. "Good afternoon," Okoi said, resting on a nearby stone. She looked up, eyes wide but soft. "Good afternoon," she replied with a smile shy as a new moon. "I haven't seen you before," he said. "Do you live here?" She nodded. "My name is Nika. I stay with my aunt and cousin near the yam fields." Her hands were rough from scrubbing, but her presence was gentle like evening rain. "I'm Okoi," he replied. "They call me the Tapper here." Nika laughed, a sound so pure it seemed to ripple through the trees. "I've heard of you," she said. "The young man who climbs trees like a squirrel but smiles like a chief's son." He chuckled. "That's me." When he asked if she worked at the market, she shook her head. "I mostly stay home, cooking, cleaning whatever needs doing. My aunt is old, and my cousin hates chores." Okoi noticed the flicker of exhaustion behind her smile. "Let me help you carry these," he offered, motioning toward the wet bundle of clothes. She hesitated. "You've worked all day already." "Then it's my warm down," he said playfully. Together, they walked slowly back to her home, talking along the way. She shared tales of losing her parents and living under her aunt's roof since childhood. As they reached her compound, a harsh voice cut through the air like a whip. "Nika, what kept you so long?" An older woman stepped out, arms crossed, face as hard as old yam. Beside her stood a younger woman wrapped in bright cloth, skin oiled and brows arched with pride. "Sorry, Mama," Nika muttered, bowing. "I was at the river." The cousin sneered. "And who's this with you? Another tree monkey?" Okoi held back his anger. "I'm Okoi. Just helped Nika with the laundry." The aunt rolled her eyes. "Well, thank you," she said sharply. "Now off you go." Okoi bowed and turned to leave, but before stepping away, he looked at Nika one more time. Her lips curved gently, grateful and kind. The look lingered in his mind all night. Back in his small mud hut, as he drank his leftover wine beneath the stars, he whispered to himself, "She's different." There was strength in her quiet, depth in her eyes. Maybe, just maybe, Eziyama had finally revealed its true jewel. Jane stood her ground, her voice trembling but strong as she faced Juliet's scornful glare. "Daniel isn't useless," she said, her eyes burning with quiet fire. "He's been kinder to me than most people I know." Juliet scoffed loudly, tossing her hair as her friends giggled behind her. "Kind? What can kindness buy you?" she mocked. "A pot of soup? A new dress?" But Jane didn't flinch. She looked at Daniel, who stood silently beside her, his jaw tight, hands clenched at his sides not out of anger, but restraint. He had grown used to insults, worn them like a second skin, but hearing Jane defend him awakened something deeper in his heart. Juliet turned on her heel and stormed inside, slamming the door. Jane turned back to Daniel, her face softening. "I'm sorry," she said quietly. "You didn't deserve that." Daniel shook his head gently. "You don't need to apologize. You've done more than enough." That evening, as the sun dipped below the hills of Umura, they sat beneath the old mango tree near Jane's house. The air was quiet, holding the weight of unspoken feelings. Daniel looked at Jane, the fading light dancing in her eyes. "You've changed something in me," he whispered. "When I left the palace, I didn't know what I was looking for. Now I do." Jane's eyes widened slightly, but she didn't speak. She didn't need to. Her silence was not of fear or hesitation, but of understanding. In that moment, surrounded by the soft hush of evening and the warmth of their shared presence, Daniel realized that this village girl, with her rough hands and steady heart, had become his anchor. She saw beyond his dusty clothes and sweaty days. She saw the man. And he, in turn, saw in her not a servant girl, not someone poor or ordinary, but someone radiant with truth, strength, and a beauty the world often overlooked. He reached for her hand, unsure but honest. Jane didn't pull away. Instead, she laced her fingers with his, gently, naturally, as if they had always been meant to fit. and under the soft rustle of the tree above them, a quiet promise passed between them, not spoken in words, but in the language of two hearts, finally finding each other in a world that rarely looked beneath the surface. In the serene village of Ndera, Amir's quiet dignity stood in contrast to the loud, mocking tone of Hania, who often belittled his humble job as a honey collector. "What good is kindness if it doesn't buy you comfort?" she scoffed, dismissing his presence with contempt, but Amir didn't let it break him. Instead, his focus remained on Lena, the quiet soul whose strength never needed words. Lena always welcomed Amir warmly, despite living in the shadow of her cousin Hania's vanity. Over the next few days, Hania curiously altered her approach, coating her tone in false sweetness each time Amir arrived with jars of fresh honey. "Your hands must be so strong," she purred insincerely, her charm forced. Amir responded politely but felt a chill underneath her sugar-coated compliments. Soon, Hania began whispering falsehoods into his ears, suggesting Lena wasn't as sincere as she seemed. "Don't be fooled," she hissed. "She only pretends to be kind." Confused but cautious, Amir thought about Lena's every action, how she tended to her aging aunt, played with children, and stood by him even when mocked. He remembered what Baba Farooq once said, "Watch how they treat those who have nothing to offer, that's where truth hides." Seeking clarity, Amir visited Baba Farooq that evening. "Baba, people speak ill of Lena, but my heart says otherwise." The old man smiled knowingly. "Let their words be wind, my son. Look at what the eyes have seen." Amir felt reassured, and his heart leaned further into Lena's quiet integrity. But their growing bond soon reached Lena's aunt, who saw her more as a maid than kin. One evening, after Lena returned from washing clothes, her aunt erupted. "How dare you befriend a honey seller?" she barked. Lena lowered her eyes. "We're just friends, Auntie." Her aunt sneered. "You shame us. If you don't stop this foolishness, I'll marry you off to Elder Gidato. At least he brings respect." Lena's heart sank. She knew her aunt had turned away many suitors just to favor Hania. Elder Gidato was 75 and already had multiple wives. Marriage to him felt like a life sentence. Feeling cornered, she didn't know what to do. Meanwhile, Amir couldn't shake Lena from his thoughts and made his way to the riverside, where he found her alone, sadness clinging to her like mist. "Lena," he said softly. She looked up, surprised but comforted. "Amir, what brings you here?" "I couldn't wait anymore," he said, settling beside her. "Since I arrived, I've met many, but you're different. You work harder than anyone I've seen, yet your spirit is gentle and strong. I think I know I've fallen in love with you." Lena froze, her heart pounding, but then her lips curled into a shy smile. "I feel the same," she whispered. "When I'm with you, I feel seen." Her smile dimmed. "But my aunt would never allow this. She's already threatening me." Amir's heart swelled with both love and concern, knowing their path wouldn't be easy, but resolved that her love was worth every struggle. In the flourishing kingdom of Nawako, where rivers ran clear and hills stood proud, lived Prince Jabari, beloved son of King Ikin and Queen Nena. Though riches were at his feet and praises followed him like shadows, Jabari's heart ached with a longing no gold could ease. His parents, eager to see him wed, urged him day after day to choose from the many noble daughters who visited the palace in silks and beads. But Jabari saw through the sweet words and painted smiles. They admired his crown, not his soul. "I need to know if someone can love me without the palace," he said one dawn, breaking his fast with his worried mother. Determined, he shed his royal garments, cut his locks short, and vanished into the rising mist, carrying only a humble satchel and a heart full of hope. Days passed before he arrived in Alato, a quiet village wrapped in forest and song. There, he met Baba Alamo, an old palm wine tapper whose laughter echoed through trees. "Teach me," Jabari asked, watching the man climb with ease. Baba raised a brow, amused. You? This is not work for soft hands. But Jabari insisted. Day by day he climbed. He slipped. He bled, but he never stopped. The villagers began calling him Jabari the Tapper. Despite his simple clothes, his kindness bloomed like hibiscus. He helped elders cross muddy roads, played with dusty-cheeked children, and never turned away a hungry dog. But not all were kind. At the market, a woman named Igbo scoffed at his smile. Tapper? She sneered. Charm won't cook soup. Another Ugochi smirked. Try someone who doesn't mind poverty. Jabari's heart stung, but he kept climbing. Then one golden evening, by the banks of river Umuda, he saw her Ao. She scrubbed clothes with steady hands, her voice soft in song, her wrapper plain but clean. Her eyes, when she looked up, held stories and sorrow. Let me help, he offered. She hesitated, then smiled. I'm Ao, she said. I live with my aunt and cousin. Jabari visited often, finding excuses to pass by her home. Her cousin Zina mocked him, powdered and proud. A palm wine tapper? She'd say, laughter curling in her throat. But Ao smiled through it all, serving meals, sweeping floors, bearing silence. She spoke gently, moved kindly, and when she dreamed of sewing, of one day having a machine, and stitching beauty into cloth. You'll do it, Jabari whispered once under the shade of a mango tree. The village whispered too. Ao and the Tapper, tongues clicked. She should aim higher. But Ao stood firm. He's good, she said to her friend Chica. That's all that matters. Zina, burning with jealousy, started sweetening her words to Jabari. You're strong, she cooed, so dedicated. He smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. Then came the venom. Be careful, she whispered one dusk. Ao pretends. You don't know her like I do. Doubt flickered in Jabari's chest, but he remembered Baba Olumo's words. Watch how they treat those who can give nothing. And he had seen Ao give her time, her back, her heart. When he asked Baba Olumo, the old man chuckled. If her spirit calms yours, what more proof do you need? So Jabari went to her home, carrying fresh wine. I want to marry Ao, he said to her aunt, bowing low. The woman laughed like thunder. You can't afford the threat on my head. She spat out a list. 20 bags of rice, 50 yams, wrappers from the coast, coral beads, and gold. Zina watched, smirking. But Jabari stood tall. I'll bring it all, he said. Ao chased after him. You don't have to, she pleaded. He touched her hand. You're worth more. That night, Jabari walked into the shadows, away from Alato, back through forests and fields to where palace gates rose like mountains. Guards gasped. Servants ran. The prince had returned. King Ikin's eyes widened. So soon? Queen Nena whispered. Have you found her? Yes, he said, kneeling. She loved me poor. She loved me forever. The royal court wept with pride. Lists were drawn, gifts packed, horses saddled. And when the royal convoy rolled into Alato with drums and dancers, the village froze. It's Jabari. He's a prince. Ao's aunt staggered. Zina dropped her mirror. Jabari stepped down in shining cloth, walked to the same doorstep, where he'd once been mocked, and held out his hand to Ao. Will you be my queen? He asked. Her eyes filled, her lips trembled. Yes, she whispered. And in the palace of Nawako, under golden light and flowered canopies, they married not with pride, but with peace. Ao's sewing machine sat by her window. Jabari still visited Baba Olumo, sometimes climbing just to remember. They ruled with grace, not grandeur. And every evening they sat hand in hand, smiling like two who had found everything in each other, stepped out of the largest carriage dressed in fine royal robes and a golden crown resting lightly on his head. Jane appeared in the doorway, her eyes wide with surprise. "Daniel," she whispered. Daniel smiled warmly and walked toward her, taking her hand. "Yes, Jane," he said. "This is who I truly am. I am Prince Daniel of Zura Kingdom. But everything I told you before about my love for you, about how I admire your kindness and strength, that was all true." The villagers gasped as Daniel knelt before Jane, holding out a glittering ring. "Jane," he said, his voice steady, "I came to this village to find someone who would love me for who I am, not for my title or wealth. I found that in you. Will you marry me?" Tears filled Jane's eyes as she nodded. "Yes, Daniel," she said. "I will marry you." The crowd erupted in cheers and applause. Villagers who had once mocked Daniel for being poor and lowly now looked at him with awe and respect. Jane's aunt and Juliet, however, stood frozen in shock and humiliation. Jane's aunt quickly recovered from her disbelief and attempted to curry favor with Daniel. "Your Highness," she said, bowing deeply, "I had no idea who you were. Please forgive me if I seemed harsh before. I only wanted the best for Jane." Daniel turned to her, his expression calm but firm. "I'm not here for your approval," he said. "Jane is the best thing in this family, and she's the one who deserves respect." Juliet tried to interject, forcing a smile. "Prince Daniel, we always thought highly of you. We were just surprised by your disguise." Daniel ignored her, turning instead to Papa Obina, who stood at the edge of the crowd with a proud smile on his face. "Papa Obina," Daniel called, walking over to him. "You were the first person to show me kindness when I came to this village. You gave me work, taught me an honest craft, and treated me with respect when no one else did." Papa Obina bowed his head. "It was my pleasure, my prince. I only did what was right." Daniel handed him a small chest filled with gold coins. "This is my gift to you for all that you've done for me." The old man's hands trembled as he accepted the chest. "Thank you, Your Highness. May your reign be blessed." The day ended with a grand celebration in the village. Daniel and Jane stood together, surrounded by villagers who now admired and respected them both. The once dismissive gossipers whispered excitedly about Jane's fortune, while Juliet and her mother stood off to the side, their faces red with humiliation. As the sun set, Daniel looked into Jane's eyes. "You believed in me even when others doubted," he said. "Now I promise to stand by you, no matter what." Jane smiled, her heart full. "And I will do the same." Hand in hand, they walked into their future together, a union built on love, trust, and the strength of their shared journey. The journey from Umoa to the palace was a dreamlike experience for Jane. As she rode beside Daniel in the royal carriage, she marveled at the golden roads leading to the grand palace gates. Villagers and passers-by waved at them, cheering for the prince and his bride-to-be. Jane couldn't help but feel a mixture of awe and nervousness. When they arrived at the palace, King Henry and Queen Isabella were waiting at the grand entrance, their regal figures framed by the towering palace doors. Jane hesitated for a moment, unsure of how she would be received, but Daniel gently took her hand and led her forward. "Father, Mother," Daniel said proudly, "this is Jane, the woman I've chosen to be my wife." The Queen stepped forward, a warm smile spreading across her face. She took Jane's hands in hers. "Welcome, my dear," she said. "Daniel has told us so much about you. Your kindness, strength, and humility are virtues we admire greatly." Jane bowed her head respectfully. "Thank you, Your Majesty," she said softly. The king nodded, his expression approving. "You've won the heart of our son not because of riches or appearances, but because of who you are. That speaks volumes about your character. We are honored to have you join our family." Jane's eyes glistened with tears. Their acceptance eased her nerves, and she felt truly welcomed into the royal family. The palace staff bustled with excitement as preparations began for the wedding. Invitations were sent across the kingdom, and the finest decorators transformed the palace grounds into a breathtaking venue. For Jane, it felt like a whirlwind being fitted for elegant gowns, meeting royal advisors, and learning palace customs. But through it all, Daniel stayed by her side, ensuring she felt comfortable and supported. The wedding day arrived with the kingdom abuzz with celebration. Guests from far and wide filled the palace grounds, eager to witness the union of their beloved prince and his new bride. Jane walked down the aisle in a gown of shimmering gold and white, her heart pounding as she saw Daniel waiting for her at the altar, his eyes filled with love and pride. The ceremony was grand yet heartfelt, as Daniel and Jane exchanged vows. The crowd cheered, moved by the genuine love between them. The festivities that followed were lavish, with music, dancing, and feasting lasting late into the night. As Jane settled into her new role as a princess, leaving her wicked aunt and jealous cousin behind, the people of Zura Kingdom grew to adore her. Despite her new status, she remained humble and kind, often visiting the villages to help those in need. Her story inspired many, proving that true worth is found in character, not wealth or appearances. Daniel, too, was a changed man. His time in the village had taught him the value of simplicity and sincerity, and he ruled alongside Jane with compassion and wisdom. Together, they became a beloved royal couple, admired not just for their positions, but for their dedication to each other and their people. Moral of the story: true love is based on character, not wealth or appearance. Daniel's journey to find someone who loved him for who he truly was showed that the greatest treasures are found in humility, kindness, and sincerity. Jane's strength and goodness proved that love can thrive when built on trust and mutual respect, creating a bond that no obstacle can break.